Boy, do I have a video for you guys today. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. And you guys know by the title, you guys know where this video is about to go. I was actually planning on making a best and worst kind of video about UCSC, but everyone, including myself, always talks about the good stuff. So I'm gonna make a video solely talking about the bad. But just know the good definitely does outweigh the bad. I'm a sophomore here, soon to be a junior. I love it. I just couldn't imagine going anywhere else. So on to the video, and do take it with a grain of salt. This is solely my opinion. All right, so first up, and this is a little bit controversial, but this school is very liberal. Business Insider actually ranks UCSC as the #1 most liberal school in the country, and it's usually top 15 everywhere else you look. And believe me, you guys will get that vibe. There's this sort of counterculture, non-conformist viewpoint that a majority of students have, with a very strong hostility towards different opinions. You'll notice things like you're expected to introduce people by your gender pronouns, and everyone on campus is always protesting about something. And this leads to a very strong feeling of, if you're not with us, you're against us, kind of mob mentality that most students have. The big thing here though is when you come to this school, you're required to take a class based on your college affiliation. And all these classes, if I'm not mistaken, are political in some way. Mine was International and Global Perspectives, others are Environment, Society, Social Justice, those kinds of classes. And all these classes are very biased, or at least the one I took for sure. I was required to read and write essays about how bad Trump is and how he only won because he appealed to dumb people, and how far-right newspapers stretch the tooth using false statistics. I'm sure some of the class did have merit, but when you're forcing kids to take a class that is openly, completely biased, it's definitely something to think about. And I had it off easy. Some of my friends in social justice would tell me how their professors said this is not a safe space for white students. And if you're conservative, you've been brainwashed your whole life. So to some of you guys, that might be what you're looking for and why you chose to come here, or are choosing to come here. And maybe I'm being biased here, but I feel like the school could definitely improve in some of these aspects. Now, the second thing which is causing a lot of issues for us students is housing. Santa Cruz County is very expensive, and most of the community actively resists any attempt to build more housing. I won't get to the numbers too much with you guys about rent, because that varies a lot depending on how many roommates you have, type of room, on or off campus. But just know it is ridiculously expensive. Like, we are in a housing crisis. Grad students went on strike last quarter because they couldn't afford rent. The school has asked professors and staff to rent out part of their homes to students. And there's been massive calls for rent controls in the city. But our administration decides we're just gonna add more students. And for the past 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, they've been increasing the number of students admitted to UCSC. So just know housing is pretty difficult. It's not impossible if you start early, but if you're on a budget, just know it could cause some issues. And the room you get is gonna probably be pretty small. So it's definitely something you guys should be aware of. Now, the next big issue with UCSC is public transportation, or just more specifically, the bus system. I'm sure most of you incoming freshmen probably don't use the bus or any kind of public transportation unless you're coming from a big city. Probably don't think much of it either. But in college, it's a very big deal. Most students don't have access to cars, and if they do, have to park them on certain spots on campus. So the bus system is really your only way of moving around campus, in and out of campus, to the city, around the city, and maybe even outside of Santa Cruz to other cities. And it is pretty bad, and it's gotten much worse every single year. There's just not enough loop buses on campus to what students need. They're okay at best during peak hours between 10 to 2, but even though they're completely packed to the brim. And if it's not during peak hours, they're pretty much non-existent. If it's 7 o'clock, I have to debate, should I wait 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour even for a bus to show up? Or would it be better just to walk 30 minutes to my apartment? And there's also metro buses that run in the city and into campus, but it's recommended that we don't use those as students because people who actually transport to work on buses need them more than we do. But it's pretty impractical to ask that of students because loop buses just, again, don't get the job done. There's also this constant fear that most students have that they're gonna be late to something because we just can't rely on public transportation. There's also only one way into Santa Cruz from the north, Highway 17, which is actually ranked one of the most dangerous roads in the country. I guess that's somewhat related to this. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here, the point I'm trying to make is that the bus system just doesn't come close to meeting the needs of students. Now, the other thing, and this was bad in the past, but it got exponentially worse this year, even this quarter especially, that's that classes are overbooked. There's just not enough professors, TAs, and tutors to go around and meet the needs of students. And what ends up happening is enrollment time becomes super stressful for us because if we don't get the classes we need to graduate, A, we might lose financial aid because we're not considered a full-time student. B, we might have to take extra quarters at UCSC to graduate, which costs us unnecessary time and money. Or C, we just have to take classes that we don't need to graduate. Now, on top of that, if a class is completely full or even overbooked, there's just not enough resources to go around. It's so much hard to get help from professor or TA or tutor office hours when there's 25 people ahead of you with their own questions. And by the way, for those of you guys who don't know how enrollment works, the more credits you have, the earlier enrollment time you have to choose classes. So juniors and seniors who need certain classes to graduate can get the chance to enroll in them before they get filled up by freshmen and sophomores. But the thing is, the situation's gotten so bad now that even seniors can't get the classes they need. Like, for example, I'm officially a sophomore, but I have senior standing in terms of how many credits I have. But last enrollment, I couldn't get 2 out of the 3 classes I needed. I lucked out because one of the class happened to open up an extra 100 spots, and I found another class from a different department I could manage to fulfill one of my requirements with. And I'm a senior. Imagine the people who are actually sophomores who can't get the classes that they need. But also a quick note here, I am a CS major and we do have a harder time getting the classes that we need compared to other majors. But here's where the story gets good. And by good, I mean really, really bad. So there's a strike on campus last quarter. And whether you agree with the strike or not, that's not the issue. The end result was about 75 TAs getting fired. And what they ended up doing was cutting all psychology and psych and humanities classes in half. So now there's even more students struggling to find classes they need, classes getting filled up. A lot of the freshmen I talked to couldn't get any psych or humanities classes. And that definitely is becoming a pretty big issue for the school now. Now the last thing, and I'm sure you guys all knew this was coming, our administration is not the best. Most of the issues, if not all of them I mentioned, could be fixed if the administration wanted to. Like, our school is not poor. We make millions in profit, not revenue, profit. But our school spends all that money on the wrong reasons. Like, we're in a housing crisis. Like, maybe, dare I say, if I may, we build more housing. But no. The school decides we're gonna renovate the amphitheater, which doesn't even get used more than 3 to 5 times the whole year. Or maybe the school could just admit less students to fix the housing issue and the fact that classes are overbooked. Or maybe they could even spend a few $1,000s to fix the bus system or the internet on parts of campus. So that's what I pretty much believe to be the worst things about UCSC. There's other smaller things here and there if you want to get nitpicky, but I feel like what I mentioned above encompassed 95% of UCSC's issues. Now, I'm sure the stuff I mentioned above does scare a lot of you incoming freshmen or people considering UCSC. But just know every college has its own issues, and the ones I mentioned above are shared by pretty much all schools in the UC system. The school also does have a lot of good. Like, just watch any other video about UCSC and you'll see how amazing it is and why I chose to come here. So that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, give me a big thumbs up or even drop a comment below if you guys have any beef with the school you guys want to make known. And I will see you guys next week for the next video.